Hello, how you guys doing? James here. Well, I hope you're doing well today. It's a nice day out. I went out trying to chill before it gets dark, before the weather changes. Um, Today I was going to make a video discussion about this thing over in the Middle East. I know you've been hearing about it online and everything, but I'm gonna give you two versions of from the black side, and then I'm gonna show you my interpretation of what I found out about. This time I'm going to do one about the Palestinians. Okay, let's start with this video.
What's good, everybody? It's your brother Mad Black, the most dangerous and the most toxic black man on the internet, and I am black up in your face again with some more pro-black commentary. I actually was going to avoid this subject and not talk about it, mainly because it's gotten way too much attention, in my opinion, and I understand why. I understand the politics why and the social implications why, but I just wanted to avoid it because I just didn't feel like getting into it again, and I'll explain a little bit more about that in this video. And the subject I'm talking about is the conflict going on in Israel now between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and they're back and forth, and their constant violence against one another. But the reason I'm talking about it is because I'm getting really tired of both factions, whether they be in this country or internationally, and some of their surrogates and sycophants on both sides constantly badgering black society to make us choose which side or who we're going to side with, as if black people have a dog in the fight, or black people, like, we have to choose, we have to give our support or sympathies to somebody, and we gotta choose a side. I'm not doing it, okay? And I don't care what anyone has to say about it. This is not our conflict, and truth be told, I'm going to be totally honest with you, as a man who is in his mid-40s and who's been around for 4 decades. I'm fatigued on the violence in that section of the Middle East. Okay, I look at the conflict in Israel and Palestine and the fight over Jerusalem the same way white bigots look at the conflict or the gang violence in Chicago. Okay, or just gang violence in the black community. The same way you fools are very desensitized to it and very callous and very uncaring about it with no sympathy. That's the way I see the conflict over there in Jerusalem and Israel and Palestine. Alright? And the reason being is because no sooner as I was born, there was conflict going on there. No soon as I got into my teens, there was conflict going on there. There was conflict going on there when I was in my 20s, in my 30s. And when you read a history book, you find like that area has been nothing but conflict ever since someone could pick up a sword and fight. Anytime someone could pick up a sword and spear and a shield, there was fighting going on in that area. Okay, so at this point, what are people supposed to do? Like, why are people supposed to get all emotional about it? I understand the political implications that Jews have a lot of influence here within the United States, so of course they have to, they want to protect Israel. I understand that Israel is a strategic area for the United States. That's all it really is. That's the only thing anyone's ever cared about, because there's nothing there, there's no natural resources there that are important or that anyone needs. Is all strategic. Okay, it's a jump-off base for the United Nations and NATO to launch attacks from other places. Okay, that's all it really is, right? But but what am I supposed to do as far as there being conflict over there? Why am I supposed to sit here and rip my clothes and shed tears for what's going on over there? Do I enjoy seeing people blown up or people dying or people being shot? No, I don't. I obviously do not. And I do have a heart, whether it just be for black people or even other types of people out there. Obviously, I don't like seeing people hurt, abused, or mutilated or whatever. But, exactly how much sympathy and empathy am I supposed to have? At a certain point, I still have to be more concerned about what's going on in my own home. That's what you told us, right? That's what all these white bigots and these conservative bigots have been telling us forever, right? That black people need to get their own stuff in order. So that's what I'm doing. I'm getting my house in order. I'm going to worry about what's going on here in the black community, right? Instead of worrying about what everyone else is doing. I can't help those people over there. There's nothing I can actually do for them, and I'm not going to be out there protesting, or I'm not going to go on my social media and put up different flags or asking for peace in the Middle East. I remember when that was a big thing. Remember that, folks? If you're a child of the late 80s, early 90s, remember when every rapper and R&B singer was putting peace in the Middle East in their song? Remember that shit? So, that was during the time of cross colors and African medallions and whatnot, and we're still trying to get our own consciousness, and Negroes are literally saying peace in the Middle East. But yeah, that's about as much sympathy as you're going to get from me around that. All right, not saying I don't care, but there's not a lot I can do. So, you trying to force me to care or trying to force me to side with one group or the other, that's not going to work. Okay, in fact, it's only serving to make me upset and angry when you do that, because then you make it seem as if black people owe you something. We don't. As the great Dr. John Henry Clark said, the only thing black people owe anyone is an ass whooping. Alright? That's the only thing we owe anybody. And then the truth of the matter is, with the abuse that the Israelis have put on black people, not only black people from the diaspora, like from Africa, that go to live there, but also black people within the United States, we don't owe you folks anything. In fact, you do so much harm to us. Why would we want to have any type of sympathy for you? Likewise, the Palestinians are extremely racist towards black people. So why should we have any type of sympathy for you? See, you guys want to mistreat black people, and whenever you resolve your conflicts, you go back to the status quo of treating black people like we're lower than dirt, or we're dogs, or whatever extremely racist term that you invented in your own language, which I find very interesting. In all these different cultures, they all have a racist term for black people, but you want, when stuff goes wrong for you and you have an issue or you have a conflict, then you want black people's sympathy. No, we're not going to do that. Okay, we're not going to lend our energy and our passions to you and your conflict. And I think that's a problem, and black people need to realize this, because people like to use our energy because they know how passionate black people can be, and they know that black people, with the issues that we have, especially the ones that we have here in America, that we are on the side of righteousness when it comes to the abuse that we have suffered for centuries. So they want to take our energy from that and dissipate our own energy in protecting ourselves and our own progeny and put it onto them and become their protectors. We're not going to do that. Okay, black people, we're not going to be the unsullied for you. If anyone watches or reads Game of Thrones, the Unsullied, the group of black soldiers that Daenerys used to defend her and her cause. We're not going to be that for you. And that's what it seems like a lot of these people want. They want their own little black brigade of Spartans and soldiers to help them in their own endeavors. You're not getting that from us, and you're not getting it here. Okay? That's just not what we're going to do. And once again, not saying that, I don't care, or I like to see, or I enjoy seeing people be hurt, or I enjoy seeing people be abused or blown up. I don't at all. I think that's That's terrible what's going on. But at the end of the day, I have to be more concerned about what's going on with my own people. Like you told me, right? You folks told me to be more concerned about my own people. And you know what? When there is any type of violence that happens with black people, right? Or any type of, miscarriage of justice involving black people, not only will you have no sympathy for the black people that die, doesn't matter if they're young, old, if they're children, doesn't matter, you have no sympathy for the black people, you will also indict the rest of the black community and make it seem like it's black people's fault for the reason it happened. So how would you like it if I start doing that to you now, right? What if I started saying that it's your fault that, the Palestinians are launching bombs over into Israel, or to you Israelis, it's your fault that, or the Palestinians, it's your fault that Israel's dropping bombs on your country, on your little area. That's your fault, not mine. So, what if we start blaming your community for the atrocities that happen there? So you do it to us all the time. And make everything seem like even if it's not our fault, you make it seem like it's our fault and we deserve to suffer for it. And your surrogates and your champions over here in the United States do the same thing to us here. They always make it seem like it's black people's fault. So why should I jump in front of the bullet for you now? Now why should I have the sympathy and try to make it seem like, especially once again, when the conflict has been going on for centuries, every 10 years or so there's a conflict there, at the very least. So exactly how much sympathy am I supposed to have? I'm kind of burnt out on the sympathy for what's going on in that area, because once again, it happens all the time, right? You people are always killing each other. You're always killing your own people, right? So that's what you say to us. So what do you want us to do for you now? And once again, all the demands on black people to use our energy to, cry or be sympathetic or want to come save you, that's over with. Black people need to stop that. I've seen some Negroes with their butter biscuits, trying their best on social media to get other black people to care. They don't need us, okay? They don't need our energy. And, you Negroes, you have all the sympathy in the world for other groups of people. When your own people get shot, or when there is violence in a major black city like Chicago or Detroit, then you do the same thing white people do. You start, trying to tear down the black community, saying we kill each other and we're bad. But when violent acts happen in these other countries, then all of a sudden you have some sympathy, as if it hasn't happened before. So, you folks can let me know how you feel about it in the comments section. I very much like to hear your opinions on this, because I know you've seen the same things I've been seeing on social media, and you've had people with these Palestinian flags or these Israeli flags either asking for your help or your sympathy or whatever, asking for your support. I'm not giving it to you. I know there's a lot of black people here who are sick of it and are not going to give our sympathies for some nonsense like that. Okay, that's their problem. They're going to have to deal with it. Anyway, Mad Black, and I will be back with my foot on the devil's back.
Well, that was interesting. Okay. Next video up. Hold on, I'll be right with you in a minute. I'm going to do a video explaining all this, and I saw an article today about Palestinian people. So, get a better understanding why we have sort of more of a kind of a connection than we think we do. And some of us do anyway. Because there are a mixture of even though they're of Jordanian and a couple other nationalities, but they do have a 15%, according to the DNA of the Palestinian, they have sub-Saharan African in them. So they are in a way connected, believe it or not, you know. And I found this out. I was really found it out today. It was really kind of blew me away. Like, whoa, I didn't know that. But they're a mixture of different groups, and I think the country, yeah, they mixed in like has some Jordanian, and I think Syrian. There was something other they mixed in with, because we all know that Palestine. You know, it was called Philistine, and then you know this story behind that. Damn, I just had that video. Okay. Let's try to get to that video. I just had that video. Come on. So it's a learning experience. It's good to learn about people and have understanding what's going on instead of just someone just spitting out things and it's true that we don't know. I mean, in a certain way I can understand where some people are coming from, but it's okay to have a heart. You know, I pray on both sides. As far as I was concerned, I was thinking about this earlier. Really, the fault goes on both sides, because it's the Zionists and Hamas, because no one didn't care. You know, Hamas launched in rockets in there, and they didn't seem to care that the consequences that Israel's going to come back and do what they do. So it's not the blood on just Israel, but it's the blood that caused those hospitals, but it's Hamas. Because they started it, and they know how now Benjamin Netanyahu is. They've been trying to find a way, and it's a bad thing. Israel has a capability, and you know I don't approve of some things what Israel do, you know. But you gotta really think about that. Yeah. Must be going. We missed them. I was wondering why it's taking so long. Okay. Here's the response to that video. This is from a black man.
Palestinians, black people, and Hebrew Israelites. Well, good evening. Now, I wanted to talk just a little bit about this situation where you have some African American. I've heard a couple of voices, maybe about 3 voices, that have said some things about this Palestinian and Israeli situation. One of them was Dr. Umar Johnson. And what I have to say about that is this. Sometimes you have to understand and know a little bit about the history of Palestinians and African Americans. Now, Umar talked about the long history of enslavement of blacks under the hands of Arabs, Arabic-speaking people. Now, I want to say, and I should say, Arabic-speaking people, because some of them, they were Muslims, but they were also black. Okay? In fact, a lot of them, they were black, and they were enslaving other black people, and they were Muslims. Okay? Muslims enslaving Africans. And they did this for a long time, a long period of time. And then after that came the Portuguese and the Spanish, and then the British, the French, etc. And then the Americans, they did the same thing. They enslaved blacks. And of course, in that group with the Europeans, you have the Ashkenazim, white. They pretty much codified it. They helped justify it. And they convinced Christian Europeans that, hey, it's okay. It's okay. It's God's will to do this. But now, these people were also operating, talking about the Talmudists, the so-called Jews. They were operating in the Arab world also, in the Muslim world. They were over there. The House of Saud, you know, Saudi Arabia, where it gets its name from, the House of Saud. Those people were originally Judaic. But then there was a conversion. They converted over to Islam. And you see, even right now, Saudi Arabia, they operate with Israel to a large degree. They operate with the United States. Yes. Oh, yes. You got at least five military bases, American military bases in Saudi Arabia. And the United States, they use those bases to attack other Arabic-speaking countries or to attack Iran. And Iran is not Arab. That's Persian. Okay? So, when brothers like Umar and there's some sisters too, there was a sister, someone sent me this information. I don't go out looking for this. I don't have time for it. Okay? But when you look at the history of Palestinians and African Americans, of Palestinians and black South Africans, there's a long history of the groups standing together in solidarity. Now, most black folks don't know this. Okay? The Palestinians, among other Arabic-speaking people, the Palestinians are looked upon in a negative way. Now, a negative way, not from the perspective of that they are a poor, uneducated people. No, you have a lot of brilliant Palestinians. And sometimes it's really envy among some of the other Arab groups as it relates to the Palestinian people. So, Yasser Arafat. Some of you are too young to remember Yasser Arafat. I'm not. Okay? Yasser Arafat, he stood with South Africa against apartheid. Yasser Arafat, he stood with black civil rights, human rights leaders here in the United States in black folks' causes with regards to the United States of America. Now, we've got some of you youngsters who are coming along now. Y'all don't know certain things, okay? You don't know the history of certain things. Yeah, you know about the Trans-Sahara slave trade. You know about that. You know about the emasculating of black boys and making them a part of, you're watching over the eunuchs to watch over the Arab sheikhs, girls and all. And you know about the young black girls, African girls, that they trafficked across the Saharan into Saudi Arabia and other Arab areas for slavery, concubines. You know about those things. But more recently, as I said, do you know about how Palestinians have stood generally with black people? Do you know? And it was J. Edgar Hoover. J. Edgar Hoover, FBI director, who stated that we must stop the Negro from uniting with his brother, the Palestinians. You see, there's a long history of the Palestinian people. Now, just because they are from that area that was once called Palestine under the Roman Empire, well, you had many different people in that area. They would have all been called Palestinians because that's where they were from. Just like you. You might be black, but you're called American. You call yourself African American too, but you're American. Okay? Alright? So, Palestinian. Who are they? Who were the original Palestinians? You see, some of y'all are ignorant from the perspective of just because someone speaks Arabic, you automatically say, you an Arab. You go to a store and you assume that, he's an Arab. Well, the word Arab comes from Saudi Arabia. Okay? That's where the word Arab comes from. So, but that was only one group. You got a whole lot of other groups over there, even outside of Saudi Arabia, who are called Arab, but there is a greater story to their ethnicity. There is a greater story to whether or not they are racist. A greater story. So, you should not paint with a broad brush. Don't do what the white folks do, a lot of them. Don't do what the so-called Jews do. Painted black people with a very, very broad brush. Said all of them were to be slaves. You know, the curse of Ham, the curse of Canaan, that lie. Okay? So, black folk, don't be like that. Don't be like that. You need to learn to stand for what is right. And if you see a big bully, a superpower like America, who put their boots upon your head, putting their boots upon the heads of Palestinians through the Zionist apartheid Israeli government, then you ought to be able to stand up and say, no, we're not going to take that. You should be able to, like Yasser Arafat, stand up and say, no, you cannot do that to my black brothers and sisters. You can't do it. So some of you youngsters out there, and Brother Umar, okay, it's good that you are against the killing of women and children, Palestinian women and children and all. That's good. That's good. Okay? But realize that you cannot paint all Arabic-speaking people with a broad brush. You can't do that. Of course, you can do it, but that doesn't make it valid. How is that any different from white people painting black people with a broad brush? It is no different. So, we are helpers one to the other. Yes, I know, black folks knocked down the walls and everybody came rushing in. I know that line. But still, if you believe yourselves to be the fathers and mothers of all others, then show that in how you act under these types of situations and circumstances. We have a situation over there where men, women, and children are being slaughtered. Refugee camp in, where's that? Jamala, northern Gaza. I mean, with American bombs, the Israelis bomb a refugee camp, literally killing men, women, and children. They don't care. They don't care. That's not the God of Israel. That's the God, the devil. That's Satan, as it was written in Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9. And then also, let me, I got to say this before I close this down. You, my brother and sister Hebrew Israelites, listen, don't be as the devils over there in apartheid Israel. Don't be as them. Don't be a Zionist. I've heard what's being said among some of your leaders about, the Palestinians will be killed and then eventually we will inherit that. And it's not about that. I want you to read the book of Hebrews in your Bible. The 8th chapter. Read the 8th chapter of Hebrews. It ain't about that old covenant. That old covenant was conditional. You broke the rules. You broke the commandments. That covenant was conditional. It was not a permanent covenant. It was not something that was going to be permanent. It was conditional. You want to know what the new covenant is? Read Hebrews the 8th chapter. It is not about the land. That's what the false Jews, spoken of in Revelation 2:9 and Revelation 3:9, that's what they are about. That's what they are doing. Trying to make it about the land. It's not. And it's causing tremendous amount of death and suffering. And my Hebrew Israelite brothers and sisters, don't you be like that. Don't you err. Don't err like that. Don't allow your leaders to take you down that path. Remember the covenant. Remember what was carried in the ark of the covenant. Remember the clay tablets, the 10 commandments. You shall not covet that which is your neighbor. You should treat others as you would want them to treat you. Now, why would you want to go in and take someone's land? Is that not what these so-called Christians, white Christians, did here in the Americas? Yeah, they did it. Is that not what the Netanyahu's people are trying to do and have been doing against the Palestinian people? It's the same damn thing. So black folks, why would you want to make the same error and same mistakes that your forefathers made that caused them to get kicked out and scattered all around the world into captivity? Why would you want to make that mistake? Why would you teach that error? That's wrong. That's wrong. You should do good, not evil. That's right. That's right. So, I had to say that. I had to say that. T. West, Afro-Synergy News.
God is forcing us to choose a side in these last days. And I don't mean like literally whether you're pro-Israel or pro-Hamas, but I mean that on every issue facing the world today, God is forcing us to choose a side. You used to be able to be in the middle. You used to be able to say, well, you know, I'm not against LGBT. You know, they can go do whatever they want and they can marry who they want to marry. But now they want to teach your children. Now they want to give your kids transition surgery. See, you used to be able to play the middle. I'm trying to go somewhere with this, and this is why Christ said in Luke 12:51 that do not think that I have come to bring peace on earth. No, I tell you that I came to bring division. From now on, there will be 5 in one family divided against each other, and 3 and 2 against the other 3. Christ said that he did not come to bring peace, but to divide. God is forcing us to choose a side in these last days. I'm a little bit under the weather, but I'm going to get through this one. Why did I keep saying free Israel? I thought it was free Palestine. Yeah.
Well, you know, dude, I'm Jewish, so I'm from Israel.
Really?
Well, my descent is Israel. I'm Jewish.
Free Palestine, ain't it?
We're not going to go into that political debate, but
God is forcing us to choose a side in these last days. I'm a little bit under the weather. I might have some allergies. It might not even be under. Might be some allergies that I don't know about. So I was chopping these freaking bushes down in my yard this morning. As I said, all this pollen and all this that just came up out of nowhere. That must be what got me. But in regards to Israel and Hamas, it used to be easy to take a side. I don't know if y'all knew this. Our whole lives, it was easy to take a side. The media would come out and tell us that the Arabs are the bad guys. The media would come out and tell, you know, CNN, Fox News. This ain't like it's just on one side. They would all come tell us the same thing. Fox News and CNN would both tell us, you know, Muslims bad. Muslims terrorists. And then our church leaders would say, you know, we a Judo-Christian nation. And then the majority of the country would take the side of Israel. But because of alternative media outlets, we've seen videos of babies being killed. Videos of mothers and fathers running, holding their children in their arms after being bombed. And it has us questioning traditionally what we would consider as the right side. I'm going somewhere. cause one of these little ones who trust in me to fall into sin, it would be better for you to have a large milestone around your neck and be drowned in the deeps of the sea. Anybody that's been in Christ or that's been a Christian, in the church, their whole life, we know that verse. You would always hear the pastors talk about that verse. Don't do that. Don't make the little ones stumble from coming to the Lord. Well, I think killing them definitely classifies as stumbling from them coming to the Lord. I couldn't imagine having to be a black conservative today. Now you must know why God brought me out and brought you out. I couldn't imagine having to say I'm with Israel, watching black and brown people, children, being bombed. Oh Lord, that would be terrible. Be on TV in Congress and have to say, they have Israel have a right to exist as black and brown children are being bombed to smithereens. Are you insane, fool? The Bible says in Exodus 20 and 13 that thou shalt not murder. It is a sin to murder, and the children are innocent. Women are innocent. We ain't seeing men of military age being shot down. We ain't seeing men of military age like they got coming over the border. We ain't seeing men of military age being killed and bombed and them falling, their legs blowing off. We are seeing children killed. And God, in these last days, I'm telling y'all, I hope somebody hear what I'm saying, is forcing us to choose a side. He's forcing us to choose a side.
There's any answer to it. There's only one way, I would carpet bomb them.
You would carpet bomb them?
It's the only way you could deal with it. Or try to stop them a different way. It never worked.
You mean all Arabs are Gaza or?
I believe that I hope to believe they're not, but I do think they are, because I don't trust them. You can't trust them, and that's the only way I believe that. The only way is just to stop it completely.
Revelations 3 and 15. I know your deeds. You are neither cold nor hot. How I wish you were one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I am about to vomit you, spit you out of my mouth. There's no more sitting on the sidelines anymore. There's no more, I'm just an independent. There's no more I don't vote, so it doesn't affect me anymore. To abstain your vote, to abstain from taking a side is to cast a vote or to be on the side of Satan. That's why Christ said that if you stay in the middle, then I will spit you out. Meaning the middle is with Satan. I hope y'all hear what I'm saying. You better be bold enough in these last days to stand on God's principles. See, because, it's just like with the LGBT thing, just using that as an example. Back in the day, you could stand in the middle and say, they can marry who they want to marry. But today, if you in the middle, like I say, you in California, you say, well, I ain't going to vote on whether they should be able to, do the transition surgery or not. Then it hits your kid. You see what I'm saying? You know what I mean? That in school, the teacher got the flag up in the class. As soon as they come in, she introducing them right up there. They put it in the little cartoons. I see my son watching the cartoon. I got to turn that crap off. Wait a minute. Wait, Gracie, they got the flag flying around. Oh, hell, turn that off. Right? You better put on something. I got to make him watch all old movies. He mad as all outdoors in there watching. You know what I'm saying? The Lone Ranger and, and Black Man.
I'm going to play this video right quick and I'll get back to him.
The question of Palestine keeps returning to our screens. But why? Well, it's an injustice and a denial of human rights that has persisted for over 100 years, with global implications. Here is a brief overview. After World War I, the League of Nations placed Palestine, formerly part of the Ottoman Empire, under a British administration that supported the creation of a Jewish national home there. A move that pleased Zionist leaders who considered it the ancient Jewish homeland. Amid increased immigration and foreign rule, Palestinians who had lived on the land for centuries staged an uprising from 1936 to 1939, which led to repression, including by British forces and Jewish militia. In 1947, the UN decided to partition Palestine into two independent states. Jerusalem was to be placed under UN administration. However, Israel declared independence in 1948 and captured much more of Palestine than the partition plan allocated, except for the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, held by Jordan, and the Gaza Strip, held by Egypt. more than half of the Palestinians were expelled from or fled their homes and ended up in refugee camps in the West Bank, Gaza, and neighboring countries. Palestinians refer to this as the Nakba, or catastrophe. They remain refugees to this day, mostly relying on the UN Palestine Refugee Agency, which was created specifically for this case. In the 1967 Six-Day War, fought between Israel and neighboring Arab states, an additional 500,000 Palestinians were forced to flee. Israel occupied Gaza and the West Bank and annexed East Jerusalem, including the Old City. In the years following, the UN General Assembly affirmed the rights of Palestinians to self-determination, sovereignty, independence, and refugee return. In 1974, it recognized the Palestine Liberation Organization, PLO, as the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people. Palestinians revolted against the Israeli occupation in 1987, referred to as the First Intifada, or uprising. Intense diplomacy followed and led to the signing of the interim Oslo Accords between Israel and the PLO in the 1990s. Palestinians recognized Israel, and the Palestinian Authority was established to govern parts of the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Further negotiations failed to resolve the remaining issues, as Israel expropriated Palestinian land and continued to transfer its population to illegal settlements in occupied Palestinian territory. During the Second Intifada in 2000, armed clashes and bomb attacks ensued. Israel built the West Bank separation wall, much of it inside Palestinian territory, seizing land and restricting freedom of movement. The International Court of Justice determined that the wall inside Palestinian territory was illegal. In 2005, Israel withdrew troops and settlers from Gaza. After an armed takeover by Hamas, Palestine's Islamic resistance movement, in 2007, Israel imposed a blockade on Gaza which has caused a deepening humanitarian crisis along with Palestinian resistance. Palestine became a UN non-member observer state in 2012, and a few years later, the Security Council demanded that Israel cease illegal settlement activity. However, settlements continue to expand. Despite broad international support for a two-state solution, it has not been possible to justly resolve core final status issues in accordance with UN resolutions. And that is why, until justice and international law prevail and Israel ends its occupation, we will continue to see the Palestinians struggle for their rights on our screens.
Israel, I've read Revelations 3 and 9 and Revelations 2 and 9, which say, I know those who say they are, but are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. So I'm not on crack. I knew from the beginning who was right and who was wrong, right, in this situation. But you can examine God's laws in every situation and see who is right and who is wrong. But this particular situation didn't have me confused. But there have been other situations, and that has happened in these last days where I'm like, oh, well, where I've kind of tippy-toed around. I knew what was right, but God speaks to me. But I decided to, well, maybe God, maybe this. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I saw these black Israelites, 2 camps, but maybe 6 months, 3 to 6 months ago, I saw these black Israelite camps fighting. It was IUIC, Israel United in Christ, versus ISPUK, which is Israel School of Universal Knowledge, and they were fighting. And it was about 35 men of IUIC, and there was about 5 men of Israel School of Universal Knowledge. It was about 5 of them.
Fight against Israelites. Check it out. I'm saying about that. Now them sisters gotta pack up and leave.
Over a chair or something, y'all messed over these guys, so y'all not getting handcuffed. So, yeah, y'all, they getting handcuffed, and they was just trying to get their chair. They was trying to get their chair, and they get handcuffed. They ain't stopping you. When they got to go,
They were fighting over the street corner. They are all street preachers, and they're fighting over the camps and street preachers who can preach on that corner. At the end of the fight, 35 obviously beat up or were able to subdue the 5, and then decided to call the police also on the 5. I never spoke about it, and I tried to stay in the middle. When I saw it, one of my friends of mine that used to be in politics with me, he sent me the video on it, and I didn't say nothing about it. But I cried internally in my heart when I saw it, but I didn't say anything because I wanted to stay in the middle. Oh my God! Because when you criticize IUIC, check this out. It's a lot like criticizing Israel because they have a monopoly over the Hebrew Israelite world. So criticizing them is a lot like criticizing Israel. I'm going somewhere today. Somebody listen to what I'm saying. 90% of the time, if you tell anybody anywhere, hey, that I'm a Hebrew Israelite, and you black and look like me, they gonna say, oh, are you like those guys in the purple that stand on the corner screaming at white people? Esau, screaming at white guys or screaming at black women. Look at the yellow hair and the blonde. Are you like one of those guys? And if you tell somebody you're Jewish, 90% of the time they're gonna say you're Zionist. I'm gonna show you the parallels here. Y'all better hear what I'm saying. Leviticus 19 and 18 says, love your neighbor as you love yourself. Do you think that those brothers who called the white police officers on their brothers love their neighbor as they love themselves? They called their oppressors on their brothers. Another camp very similar to them with almost the same ideals as them. Maybe one or two things they all both disagree on or disagree on, but yet they called their oppressors. They don't want to tell us that the white man is Esau. Yet they called Esau on their brothers. Think about this.
IUIC thinks that snitching doctrine that they have is some benefit to the community. It's not. It gets people killed. You hear the sister on the call. That's why I pointed out to my ear, like, yo, listen to what she's saying. She's saying you called them. IUIC thought it was a good idea to call the police on this brother. And even the sister said, these people are killing us. And yet you thought it was a good idea to call them. Okay, you got other brothers. This is a very long, 10-minute video. You got other brothers who are like, we can deal with this ourselves. This is a black issue. Like, we can deal with this as a community. And the problem is, these simpletons have no faith in the black community.
I'm trying to show you something, because in this particular situation, I stayed lukewarm. I wasn't hot, I wasn't cold, I stayed in the middle. Even though God told me to speak up about it, I'll stay in the middle on this one. I don't want, I don't want that IUIC heat, because they got a monopoly. It's like a cult following, right? They got all these camps, and everybody believes if you're an Israelite, then you're one of them. Just like if you say you're Jewish, they think you're a Zionist. I'm about to show y'all something real quick. As a God spoke to me on this one. This was finna get deep. Leviticus 19:16. Do not do anything to endanger your neighbor's life. I am the Lord. To call the police on your brother, the white police officer. The most dangerous place for a black man in the world is in the hands of a white police officer. That is an absolute fact. The most dishonorable organization in the history of the effing world. It's a fact. I can say that plainly with no fear, because I'm a black man. Either way, they would have killed me whether I said this or didn't say it. It's the most dishonorable organization ever created in the history of the effing world. And to put a black man in the hands of a white police officer is to endanger your brother. These are God's laws. I'm going somewhere because I want y'all to see this. Because we've seen videos, I've seen videos of, and I hate to go on this tangent, but I've seen videos in Chicago of police officers. They go up and round up black men and then take them off to these little warehouses where the doctors, so-called doctors and scientists, start injecting them with things, then put them back in the hood to see how they act. Just like rat experiments. I've seen videos. The cops working with them on that. They only patrol our neighborhoods. They don't go to nobody else's. I'm going somewhere real quick, but hold on now. Then when I first came in the truth, obviously, many of you guys have heard this, so I ain't got to be the first person to tell you this, so I'm not slandering, but that I heard that IUIC was working with the CIA, and I'm not going that far to say that, but I heard many things also about Israel when I was a kid, small in the Christian faith, right, coming up in the church. You heard about them, their country being formed by the Rothschilds, and you heard rumors and theories that they were working with the banks and that they own politicians and the police force. I'm going somewhere. It's just a theory, right? I heard that they have been killing Palestinians for over 75 years, right? And it seems that a lot of the things that we heard about them ended up being true. Now, the reason I'm using this personal story to parallel some of these current events is so that you can personally determine how to choose the side of God's in these last days, how to rebuke the devil no matter the backlash that you might receive, to ensure that you personally align with God. And it's very simple. God's laws is the truth. Psalms 119 and 142. Thy righteousness is an everlasting righteousness, and thy law is the truth. God is forcing us to choose a side in these last days. I have not forgotten where I'm at. I'm still exactly where I'm at. I'm trying to show y'all something here. I have not forgotten where I'm at. God is forcing us in these last days to choose a side. I hope you still here. God's laws, commandments, and statutes are the truth. This is how you know if you are standing with God or you are standing with evil, by examining the laws of God. If you see someone breaking the laws of God, what is sin? The breaking of God's laws. And these people are sinners if they're breaking God's laws. 2 Thessalonians 2 and 9, look at this. They perish because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. What's the truth? God's laws, his commandments, his statutes. They perish because they refuse to love the truth. There's going to be a people that perish. A lot of people are about to perish. I'm sorry. Thousands, millions, 1/4 of the earth are going to perish. They're going to die because they refuse to love the truth. What's the truth? God's laws, commandments, and statutes. Many of the Christians, white Christians, I'm finna go somewhere right now. Many of the white Christians believe they don't have to follow God's laws, commandments, and statutes at all, which is why they won't put up the laws against what they see Israel doing to the Palestinians. Because if they did, they would say these people are breaking the laws. Matter of fact, I got videos of Jewish people saying that Zionists don't even stand for God's laws.
The state of Israel does not represent all Jews, and certainly does not represent the Jewish religion. According to Jewish religion, all of this is criminal. All of this is forbidden. Basics of Jewish belief teaches that Jews are in a divinely decreed exile, and we are even forbidden to create a sovereignty for ourselves. And especially when this is by killing, stealing, oppressing an entire people. This is not only criminal according to the national law. This is a true violation of Judaism.
But the same thing with a lot of these camps. And I'm not picking on IUIC in particularly, I'm picking on all of them. I came out and told a lot of you guys, since I've been in the truth, and I have said this 100 times now, to show me a video, somebody said it before me, ain't nobody put up one yet. But that God's laws of the Sabbath day says that you are to work 6 days and take the 7th off. I have said this many times, that the emphasis is on the 6 days. There are 2 laws there. Work 6 days, take off 1 day. Yet you see these fools sit in the Sabbath day class all goddamn day long doing nothing, and then do nothing for the next 6 days. The poorest people on the planet, the poorest men, black men, the poorest on the planet, we're going to take a whole day off of doing nothing and then take another 6 days off of doing nothing. That's not keeping with the Sabbath day. Keeping with the Sabbath day is to work 6 days. That's what the scripture says. Work 6 days, hard, all day, all night, then take off the 7th day. You are only resting because you've been working for 6 days. That's why. I have still yet to see somebody put a video up of somebody else saying that but me. I'm saying this to you because of this. They emphasize people working on the Sabbath and be out on the street corner rebuking their brothers, saying, oh, look, you on the Sabbath, look, you out here working, so you supposed to be home, this and this and this and that. Yet the 6 days, what they doing? Sitting around doing nothing. Instead of working and getting to it. Lord, I'm preaching to somebody right now. I'm trying to show you how the Bible says, take the speck out of your own eye before you try to take the one out of your brother's eye. I'm trying to show you that a lot of people are going to perish. Because even when I told them, even now when I tell you this law, people are still, they love the lie. Oh God, they perish because they refuse to love the truth and so be saved. Look at this. For this reason, God sends them a powerful delusion so that they will believe the lie, and so that they will be condemned who have not believed the truth but have delighted in wickedness. They believe the lie. They're under strong delusion. Just because somebody got fringes on their clothes, I got fringes on suits. Just because somebody got fringes on their clothes does not mean that they are adhering to God's laws. And let me say something real quick too before we get too far, get too carried off into this. I give all adoration to Bishop Nathaniel for the most part, because it was his voice that I personally heard online that woke me up to the truth of who we are personally. But the reason why I have never joined a camp, any camp, is because after I found out who we were, I've yet to see any of them, for the most part, following God's laws or diligently preaching to their congregation to keep God's laws. I'm not getting on everybody because there's a few of them out there, Pastor Dow, his people try to keep God's laws, etc., etc. I'm not saying that the IUIC don't try to keep some of them. I'm saying for the most part, I don't see our people that being the emphasis. And y'all know I'm not lying. I'm gonna have all this backlash and people try to put up videos, stuff like that. But just go watch these fools. You just seen them call the police on their own brother. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. That's what the scripture says. I'm going to give you another one that you should not hate an Israelite in your heart. Matter of fact, I'm about to go ahead and give you that one now. Right? Leviticus 19 and 17. Do not hate a fellow Israelite in your heart. You telling me these fools don't hate their fellow Israelites? Are you kidding me? Of course they do. And on both sides they do. That's really a fact. God is forcing us to choose a side. God is forcing us in these last days to choose a side. Either be hot or cold. Be strong and courageous. Rebuke Satan. Stand on the side of righteousness. Be a soldier for God. Lord, I'm preaching to somebody right now. And look, last point, real quick. Like I said, many of these camps, black Israelites, are very similar to white Christians. They out there trying to rebuke white Christians, but they're very, very similar to white Christians in their understanding and their thinking. Oh my God, there's a reason he called me for these last days. Oh Lord, help me preach this thing. 2 Timothy 3 and 5. Look at this. Having a form of godliness, but denying its power. Many of them are very similar to white Christians. Having a form of God. Like I said, they got the fringes, but denying the power of God. And the scripture goes on to say, have nothing to do with such people. That's why you ain't never seen me join no camp. But both white Christians, and like I said, not all, but many of these black Israelite camps are just alike. Matthew 15 and 8. These people honor me with their lips. Y'all know I'm not lying. But their hearts are far from me. White Christians, they honor God with their lips, but their hearts are far from God. They seeing kids getting killed, talking about Israel has a right to exist. How? Where's their right? Show us the proof. You know what I'm saying? How do they got a right? What right? To kill kids? Are you a crackhead? Lord, help me preach this thing. It goes on to say, they worship me in vain. The white Christians, you ever go to one of their churches? I've been to many of their churches. Got a freaking band up there. They got bands up there now performing to worship God. Right? They're saying they worshiping God. Right? And worshiping God. Right? You got AC/DC playing. Right? You might as well bring Blake Shelton in here. Sing God did. You know what I'm saying? Right? I mean, what's that? DJ Khaled. Right? They worship me in vain. It's just a feeling. Right? But they don't really follow after Yah, the Most High. They don't really have his laws, his commandments, his statutes in their heart. Same thing with the black Israelites. Some of them know God's words, at least they know the precepts. But go ask them about God's laws specifically, his laws. I'm talking about Exodus, Deuteronomy, Leviticus, Numbers, those laws, and about adhering to them. I'm talking not just dietary laws. See, they quote the dietary laws all day long. They quote the Sabbath day, but just taking the Sabbath day off, but not working the 6 days. And I can give you many, many other ones, but I don't want to go too far on that. And many, many other of the moral laws, the business laws of God. I have talked about this at length many, many times about how it's just worshiping God in vain. It's like having the appearance, or what did it say? Wasn't there a scripture on that? Having the form of godliness and appearance of God. Like, oh yeah, you know, this is how God really looked. You know, he had the beard. This is how he looked. A form of, like the Pharisees. To look godly, but denying the power thereof. They worship me in vain. They teach a doctrine, listen to this, the precepts of men. It's a fact. When I first started preaching, I'll never forget it. I used to have so-called Israelites comment to me and say, you need to go get taught by this bishop or by this teacher. Go to this Israelite school. Are you insane? They teach the Bible, the laws of God, to little Jewish children. I'm a 38-year-old man. Why do I need to have, when little 5-year-old children know the laws of God, why do I need another man to give me the laws, the precepts of God? because he's going to give me the precepts of man from his heart. That's why I tell y'all all the time, and if you listen to me long enough, you heard me say, what's my religion? The plain written text of God's laws, the plain written. That's all you need. You don't need me. You don't need my book, God's laws, commandments, and statutes. Even though I tried to give it to you more plainly in there, you don't need that. All you need is the Holy Scriptures yourself. And go to God's laws, read the plain text, and that is the truth. Because the word says that his laws are the truth. So if I'm supposed to follow after the truth to be saved, because they said that those that follow after the lie are going to perish, and I need to follow after the truth to be saved, then I need to know these laws, and I need to try to hold to them and adhere to them to the best of my ability during these last days. I just preached to somebody right
now. Anyway, I'm going to show you this article right quick, and you might want to go to this website. It's called Palestine Mix, and those who anybody speak Arabic, whatever. Here's a website. It's a film director, and it tells you the whole history of how the British and the French used the land of Palestine and how it goes back to what they did. This is on Al Jazeera. I don't know if I'm allowed to play that or not, but it tells you the different site. This goes back to like the 1890s, and they've been fighting for it ever since then. But this fight goes back in the 1930s and everything. So it technically was Britain. Let me turn on this light. Technically, it was Britain and the Zionists who moved the Palestinians out. So basically, it was gentrification. So basically, that's what they did. And it's called the 1917 Balfour Declaration, declared that British support for national home for Jewish people. In 1917, they did this. But before that, in 1799, during the French invasion of the Arab world, Napoleon issued a proclamation offering Palestine as a homeland to Jews under France's protection. This was a way to establish a French presence in the region. Napoleon envisioned a Jewish state in the Middle East and did not materialize it all the time, but nor did it die. In the late 19th century, the plan was revived by the British. So Napoleon did this. And then it kind of faded out in the 1800s, and it picked back up in the 1900s. And this is what the 19 and then this guy, Britain's Minister David Lloyd George, who became a Zionist in 1915. So these Zionists is something else, man. Synagogue of Satan. Synagogue of Satan. But this what led all the way up to what we're looking at now, and it's I think it's on Al Jazeera. So you go Al Jazeera, I guess his movie's on Al Jazeera. I don't know if I can play it because I don't want to get copyright strike, but it tells you more about it, about the Palestinians and everything, and it's so really. They have more of a connection to us than we imagine. So for us to even say that they were looked down upon. But see, what happened was this. This is what I think why some people feel in our community feel like that. when you see some video on the internet, and this has nothing to do with the Palestinians, but they have Moroccans and Lebanon, and which have they have no connection. The only thing that they have in common that there's Christians and Muslims on each side. But the Moroccans, the Libyans, and Lebanon do slave trade. Palestinians don't do slave trade. That's a fact. They don't do. I didn't hear about, because I seen over there. They don't do slave trade. But you got Lebanon that do. That's why Lebanon is suffering, because they still trying to, and they kind of did sub-Saharan Africans bad in Lebanon. Moroccans is the one, they said one of the worst, and Egyptians is too. So yeah, mainly Moroccans. I don't know about Algeria or the other one, but they don't. But the Moroccans, some racist, man. They're racist against all different other groups. So, we get what it is that you get tied up because they look similar. You know, it's like what T West was saying. Like, you just look at them like, oh, okay, from the Middle East, they speak Arabic, but we don't. But you don't know the whole ordeal about the Palestinians. And I'm not saying that they do. I don't know how the Afro-Palestinians is over there, but this is what I seen. But what happened when it comes to the Arab Muslims, they get lumped into together. They get lumped in together. And before all this kicked off with Hamas, and between the Hamas and the Zionists, this would happen. And they both caused bloodshed on both sides. So I would, as far as that, I don't agree with that. Causing bloodshed, innocent bloodshed, and really, technically, they've been, like you say, been doing. You see how long they've been doing this, and it's not right. And I knew some Palestinians, you know, even living here in Ohio, you know. I know some of them were pretty cool, man. It's like, I can't do that, man. You know, and when I see kids, you know, like you said, it does something to you. Even though I'm not Palestine or anything, but it does something to you, man. It's just, you see a child screaming like that in pain, you know. It's something, you know, you can't do a cold heart like that, man. I'm sorry. You can't be that cold. And I understand we're going through some things in this country, but yeah. But I think if anything, we need to educate ourselves. And Umar he need to educate himself before you make that kind of statement out there like that, and get an understanding on who in the Middle East is, and do a thorough background before you just put anything out there and lump everybody. And like T West said, because and there's two factor of Muslims. There's the Sunnis and the Shias. But the ones, I don't know what the Moroccans is and the Libyans and the Lebanese is, but them the ones that they put Africans in current slavery. But I don't know if the Palestinians is the same ones, is the same Muslims as them. So that could be a difference right there. But I can see where some the Palestinians will get it. Like, you just gonna throw us into the bag with that. You don't know the whole story. And they have over in their billboard, they feel like, hey, you know, when George Floyd, they did have sympathy, because I did see some on a TikTok show in their land. They improvise. Do they have? And it's like what this one Arab Muslim guy said. Everybody has some type of prejudice. It's the truth. There's a little bit of prejudice in everybody. It's in some of us. It's in some of them. It's in a little bit of everybody. But to do that is wrong, man. And so what the Zionists is doing is wrong. What Hamas is doing is wrong. Because now look what happened. And even as Israel do go in there, what's to say that you so-called trying to get to at Hamas, but you cost a hostages their life? And clearly they're not thinking. They're so war hungry over there. And it could have been negotiated out. But I just think that we shouldn't jump the gun. And like I said, you can choose however you want to choose. I understand some people gonna feel like that, but no, man. I've been seeing video, and my prayers is for the Palestinians as well as for Israelis, because, and that's to stay on both sides, because there's suffering on both sides, but it's really major suffering on the Palestinian side. I couldn't even begin to even imagine what that's got to go through. And so we got to be really think about what we put out there on social media. And if someone did that to us, we'd be angry and pissed. And they say, oh well, we don't give a shit, And I've never seen too many Palestinians said that when something happened to us. To be honest with you. And like I said, we get caught up because we assume that they're part of the same religion and the same tongue that they speak. But we don't know the whole ordeal. You need to do your research before you make it like that. Because if I was Palestinian and I heard you did that, I'd be kind of mad too. Knowing, I would be feeling some kind of way too. When you can see suffering and somebody up there saying that, and hey, you choose what you want to choose. And yeah, I understand looking out for your own. It's true, you should look out for your own. But at least don't be ill. Don't be like T. West said. Don't be like the white supremacists. Don't put a broad brush over everybody. That's true. But anyway, I hope this video, like and subscribe. But yeah, I just wanted to give you a brief history and both sides of how it started. But it's the two flip side. Not every black person, and if any Arab American come across this, who is Palestinian, not everybody feel like that. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe and share with somebody. Because sometimes, we don't know. One thing about Americans, and you guys have to understand that come foreign countries, and some Palestinians who live from America, you know how America is. Everybody can judge this broad brush, but your relatives over there don't understand that. You know this. The ones that live in America. America paints everybody with a broad brush. You know this. If you gotta know if you second generation American. If you just whatever, you know this. They brought everything. It don't matter when 9/11 happened. Everybody, whoever, your women in your family wear the hijab. You got. No matter if you were whatever, if you were American Muslim, or white American, or black American, you got it. America is like that. They put everything out there. And so it ain't no different. It's just like any other group of people. You got to remember, we have a spirit of racism in this country, and we racist to any group of people we select to. After we take our foot off one neck, we go on another neck of people. That's just the way. It's the fact. Because you hear people talking about it and what their experiences. So, yeah. But yeah, black people, hey, don't like. I agree. Don't be like that, because we would want someone to go out and above. You know, at least pray for them. Have a heart for them, because I know, and we know that not all Palestinians are racist. But they've lived around us, man. Some of them ain't prejudiced. I went to school with some of them. I work alongside of them. Sorry, Dinja. But yeah. But that's true. Don't paint everybody with a broad brush. So I hope this is a good message. I hope you like and subscribe. And hope you get an understanding. Before you put anything up, do some research and understand and find out who. That's what I did. When I want to know, well, who is the Jewish people, I got to go all the way back in their background to understand. Same with the Palestinian. You know what they're a mixture of. Okay? So, hope this educates somebody. To like and subscribe to next time. See you on the next video. Be blessed. And my heart goes out to both groups, and I pray that this thing will be resolved soon. Take care.